Hello and welcome back to another video. I hope you guys all had a great Christmas and I hope you guys are all doing well. So over the entirety of this channel's history, I've been making videos on gaming PCs that I recommend. I made a tier list, I did a PC review, and I've taken a look at multiple sites and talked about their PCs. And in those videos, I gave reasons why I like or don't like certain PCs, but I never gave you guys my personal checklist of what I go through in my head when I'm looking at a gaming PC. So I thought that since we are starting a new year, I should start off with an outline of what I specifically value in gaming PCs so you guys can understand why I give the ratings I do to certain PCs. Whenever I take a look at any sort of PC on the market, I kind of have a tier list in my head of certain values that I place above others. So in ascending order, those are looks, cable management, warranties, upgradability, thermals, part selection, and overall value / performance. I know that a lot of you are going to have some disagreements with that list, or at least how it is ordered, and that's perfectly fine to disagree with me, but I do want to go through each item and talk about why it's ranked where I ranked it. So the very first one on the list, and the one that I value the least, is looks. Now I'm sure a lot of you guys out there want your gaming PC to look amazing. You want it to have RGB lights, cool case fans, and all that fun stuff, but when it comes to my personal rating of a gaming PC, the looks are the last thing that I consider. Practically speaking, how the machine looks is not going to affect your everyday use of the machine. Along with that, lighting and looks often eat into the budget of the components of the PC. Nice RGB case fans can be expensive, sometimes costing over $100 for just 3 of them. So when it comes down to it, looks are one of the last things that I look into when assessing a PC. So next up is cable management. Now I know for sure this one is going to be a big point of contention for a lot of you, but from my perspective, cable management isn't a huge concern. Some boutique companies like Digital Storms or Main Gear pride themselves on having great cable management, and admittedly they do, but when it comes down to it, other than the clean look and how it may be a bit easier to find certain cables to plug or unplug a certain device, cable management does not affect the end user a whole lot. Only when someone is swapping out a component is when they will really have to deal with the PC's cable management, and even then that only applies to the parts that use cables. Now of course there are going to be outliers. Sometimes you will get a PC with such horrible cable management that cords are getting hit by the fans or whatever, but those are the outliers, not the norm. Most of the time these companies that I'm talking about, their cable management is acceptable and allows the user to upgrade fairly easily. For those reasons, cable management really isn't that high up on my checklist. Now if cable management was controversial, warranties are going to be even worse. Now let me get a couple of things straight. I think warranties are important. Making sure that your computer, which is going to be one of the most expensive things people have in their homes, is protected to a degree is important. I think having good customer service is also a great thing for any company to have. Now if I think warranties are important, why are they as low on the list as they are? The main reason is that anytime you end up buying a gaming PC from a larger company, you're going to get at least a 1-year warranty on the PC. Now of course this only covers if there is a malfunction with the computer. Most of the time it does not cover any damage caused by you or someone else, but if you want to spend some extra cash, most companies will be more than happy to offer you an extended warranty plan. As well, usually the higher end PCs have longer term warranties on them. Because warranties are fairly standard, given you buy your computer from a fairly reputable brand, you're going to have very similar experiences from company to company when it comes to tech support. Most companies have fairly standard warranty and support processes, and because of that, I don't make it a deciding factor when it comes to me recommending gaming PCs. But if I do hear that some company has terrible support and doesn't help with warranties, I won't recommend them. But if I don't hear anything out of the ordinary about a company, then I might recommend a PC given it has the other characteristics that I value in a good gaming PC. And that brings us to our next topic of upgradability. When it comes to saving money over time, upgrades are your best friends. Instead of having to buy a whole new PC 5 years from now, you can just get some newer parts and pop them into your old rig. I am a very money conscious person. I like to keep up on stocks, look at market trends in the tech industry, and try and see what's going to come out in a few months ahead to help myself make better buying decisions. If I'm going to buy a PC, I want to get my money's worth, so that is why I make sure all the PCs I get meet my requirements for upgradability. To elaborate further, most gaming PCs are upgradable to a point. Most of the time you can slot in some more RAM or get a better GPU and CPU and all of that fun stuff, but some things can prevent a PC from being more upgradable than others. If you have a bad PSU with low wattage, it could prevent you from getting higher end components down the road because of their higher power requirements. As well, certain hardware can prevent you from being able to make good upgrades in the future. Buying something like a Z390 board with a Intel 9th gen CPU is just a bad idea when it comes to upgradability, because those boards and CPUs are at the end of their lifespans. They are aging hardware that is still being sold pretty regularly with no good upgrade path. While upgradability saves people a lot of money in the long term, I don't lean on it too heavily because most people will just want the best hardware there is out now, and they don't see themselves upgrading a PC down the line other than the standard RAM upgrades, so that is why upgradability is where it is on the list. So next we have thermals, the third largest thing that I consider when assessing a gaming PC. Most PCs have sufficient cooling, and most of the time all you need is an intake and exhaust fan, but if for some reason the PC has no access to some sort of airflow, the system can get very hot, and this will lead to thermal throttling and sometimes permanent damage to the components of the computer. Thermals are very important in every PC, and neglecting them can have dire consequences. No one wants to get a PC that is just going to cook itself to death and die within a year. I don't talk about it too much in my videos, but I still think about it and consider it whenever I'm taking a look at a certain system. The second largest thing that I consider when it comes to recommending a gaming PC is parts selection. How a company puts together a PC and what kind of parts they use is extremely important. Sometimes certain part pairings just don't make sense for most users. Having a Core i7 10700K, a fairly high-end CPU, with a GTX 1650, a very cheap GPU, doesn't make a whole lot of sense for most gamers. They would benefit more from having a lower-end i5 and a better GPU. Another example, having a 2TB hard drive for a boot drive instead of just getting a 500GB SSD doesn't make any sense. Most people would rather have fast storage, especially when it comes to their boot drives, rather than just having more storage that is much slower. The quality of parts matters too. Just because it's an 850 watt PSU doesn't mean that it's good. If it's some no-name brand from AliExpress, it's not going to last you for too long, and it's definitely not going to output anywhere near the 850 watts listed. And this goes for all components. If you cheap out on it, don't expect it to last you for years and years. Making sure that the parts in the system create a good combination for your use cases is a huge deal. If you're looking for a gaming PC, you should look for a beefy graphics card. If you are a video editor, make sure you're getting a system with a good CPU. Part selection is important because it is fundamentally going to dictate your user experience on the PC. The most important thing that I think about when looking at a PC is how much value do you get for what you're paying for. This is something that I look at heavily in all my videos, and that is why the value is the number one thing that I look at when assessing a PC. When I'm talking about the value of a PC, I'm talking about how much performance you are getting compared to the amount of money you are spending. As a general trend, people want to get the best bang for their buck. So when I'm looking at a PC, I usually will compare it to other pre-built PCs on the market that are similar to it. Based on those comparisons, I then see if it makes sense for me to recommend the system I am looking at. Performance is important, but making sure that the PC that you are spending all your money on performs at its price range is also a big deal. Now, there is one more thing that I didn't mention because it really isn't a huge factor for a lot of these companies, but it is something that I heavily consider if it is presented. Most gaming PCs are all the same. They might have an extra feature like water cooling or a cool case, I guess, but if they're offering something completely different from anything else on the market, I also take that into heavy consideration. CLX, a company that I did a gaming PC review on, offers more customization on their PCs than any other company that I have ever seen. A less known PC company called Thelio makes workstations that run off of custom versions of Linux, and they have their own custom cases and custom layouts. While both of these companies can't offer great value compared to their competition, they offer something unique to the user, and a lot of the time, that one thing is what pulls in their customers. Now, I know most of you might have differing opinions on what you think is good and bad in a PC, and that's fine. You should be able to have your own opinion. But if you do disagree with me, make sure you go down in the comments section below and tell me why. Don't just give me the blanket answer that, I always get, this guy's stupid and he doesn't know what he's talking about, because, I get that a lot. But I'm genuinely interested in what you guys think about the topics and the criteria that I brought up today. If you liked the video, make sure to leave a like. If you want to watch more, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And if you have any sort of tech questions, make sure to check out our channel Discord linked down below. Thanks a ton for watching, and I hope I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.